Crowd control, damage mitigation, spacing, with a little bit of memorization and just a little bit more losing will help you achieve high scores in Devil May Cry: The Bloody Palace. Find out how today on Open for Views.
Open for Views.
Hey, and welcome to Open for Views. Today I'm going to share some tips and tricks about Devil May Cry: The Bloody Palace board game. First of which is going to be crowd control. Crowd control is a pretty important system in action games, character action games, stylish action games, beat-em-ups, hack and slash. You can call them whatever you want. You can call them punchy, shooty, for all I care. I'm going to start calling them punchy, shooty from now on. But crowd control is very important in those games. And I believe crowd control was translated extremely well to the tabletop experience. The main push of the Bloody Palace is to rack up a combo without getting hit, cashing it in, and scoring points so you can get all the way up to triple S. One of the systems in place that will help you achieve this is crowd control. Crowd control allows you to wrangle and corral enemies into advantageous positions. Every time you do a move in the Bloody Palace, there's little iconography on the cards. And there is a knockback icon and there is a follow-up icon. And when you knock an enemy back, you typically knock them back 1 hex. And the follow-up icon signifies that you are supposed to follow them in their direction, in their general direction. So what you do is you take your character. In this video, I'll be talking about Dante, who has 5 movement points, and he has 8 health. And so when the enemies pursue you, they'll do their little move where they come closer to you. You'll want to be able to move and get either next to them or right behind them. Also in this video, I'm just talking about the Empusa. Maybe there'll be a future video where I talk about the different enemy types, but today I'm just talking about dealing with this enemy because I believe that it will really display the advantages of the systems they've put in place. So what you're going to want to do after they approach you is you're going to run, use all of your actions, your running actions, your movement actions to get to the back side of them. And then you're going to want to play a card. One of your starting cards, starting attack cards. After you play a starting attack card, in your hand of 5 cards that you have from your little deck, your starting deck, there are different moves that will enable you to push the enemy in a certain direction and then follow up. So the instructions state that the enemy is pushed in the direction of the player's choosing. So what you want to do is you want to push the enemies and kind of corral them together, get them to kind of hug each other in a almost a semicircle within the hexes. In that way you can do maximum damage when it comes to other cards that you play. But get them all wrangled together. Get them in a unit. And then, after you do that, after you spend 1 or 2 cards, you're going to want to burn your other cards in your hand, unless you got something really sweet like a finisher. But you're going to want to burn those cards and then use the evasion value. And run away from the enemy. Just completely run away from them. Go away. And one of the important aspects of this is learning how far the enemy can pursue you. And that's why losing is also a really important part of learning how to play this game. If you step back and the enemy comes and snaps you and knocks you out of your combo, you're going to remember. You're going to remember that the enemy moved 3 spaces. You're going to remember that the enemy moved 4 spaces. And you're not going to forget. And so that's where memorization comes into play as well. you're going to have the desire to learn how to get better because you made the mistake of not moving far away enough. So once you get out of range, essentially, for an Impusa, I believe an Impusa's maximum movement is 3 hexes. And so after you move, you're going to play their card, their artificial intelligence, and they're going to approach you. And it's always, I believe their cards always say, approach the nearest hunter. And so they're going to come towards you. And then once again, you're going to want to start up and you're going to want to play your cards. You're going to want to move towards them, very close to them, and then play your cards. And push them together. Make sure you're hitting them all at once. Something I really like to do that I think is advantageous for learning how to play the game is taking the enemy and essentially doing a training mode. Doing a mode where they have unlimited health and they never die. And that way, the only time when they've been defeated, so to speak, is after you cash in a max combo. After you do those 9 hits, and then you do the essentially million stab finisher, which is your base finisher at that point in the game when you first start off. Million stab also grants the ability to double the score. So it's one of those things. If you're not earning 20 points per combo cash in, I would argue you're probably playing the game wrong. And there's other ways to get cash in enhancements, one of which is a taunt. You can finish a combo by doing a taunt, and it gives you 3 extra bonus points. But you really want to do that finisher. As I said, it doubles. The finisher doubles your score. One of the other things that's important, it plays into memorization, is spacing. And it's knowing the distance. Knowing the distance in which the enemy can travel and knowing how far out of reach you have to be. This plays into every single enemy in the game. Every single enemy has different patterns. But every single one of them has a maximum amount they can move. Later in the game, when you unlock, it's one of the first things I like to unlock, actually, is the Trickster style. Because every time you cash in or burn your cards for the evasion value, you get an extra hex. So if you cash in 4, you'll get 5. And what's really good about that is sometimes you'll be able to pull out an extra attack because you have that 1 extra that's in your skill set now. I believe Royal Guard allows you to have 1 extra defense point, but I love evasion. I love getting away from enemies and just completely mitigating all damage. I don't even want him. I don't even want to get hit. I don't want to lose a life. I don't want that score to go down. And that's another way that I'll play it. Another little self-rule that I'll put into play is if I die, if I lose all of my health, game's over. It's not, you don't lower your score by a little bit. It's over. You have to start over. This works. These techniques work on all of the enemies, but you have to learn how the enemy pursues you. You have to learn the enemy behavior. It's best to learn the enemy behavior by losing. The reason why it's better, I said it before, you will remember. You will rack up this sweet combo, you're about to claim 20 points, and you get poked for 1 or 2 damage. That combo's gone. It's totally gone. You can't do anything with it anymore. And you will remember at that point, I thought they moved 4, they moved 5. And you're going to remember from that point on. Or you're going to remember they have a certain sweeping attack. Another tip is for bosses, you're always going to want to go around behind them. Because the way they move, the way bosses function, they're multi-hexed bosses. They rotate on an axis. They rotate. So every time they rotate and move a hex, that counts as a movement for them. So if you're behind the enemy and you slide them in a certain direction, it's going to, they move, say, 5 or 6 spaces. You're going to move them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they're going to come after you. Another thing that's really beneficial to getting high scores is knowing when to cash in. And you have, sometimes you don't want to cash in a 20 because you don't have the cards. You don't have the cards to evade. You don't have the cards to continue the combo, which is unfortunate, but sometimes it happens. But you can get a 16-point enhancement, which is fine. But I'm 100% serious. 20. 20 is the magic number. If you're not getting 20, the game's not happening right. So I hope these little things that I told you about the game have helped you out a little bit. I hope you use them next time you play. And if you haven't, check out Devil May Cry: The Bloody Palace. It's a really sweet board game. The miniatures look cool. The enemies, every single one of them are different. They all have different behaviors. They are all brutal in their own way. And it's just a very satisfying board game, especially if you're a person like me who I shouldn't say necessarily transitioned from video games to board games, but you still like some of the key aspects of video games and like to see them translated to board games. But the time has come. We were open before, but now we're closed. Beat it.